people changed a bit. Being an unpaid servant of the community isn't as popular anymore as it was in the earlier days. So we still have a hard time. And in our district, we lose the amount of people of one fire department every year.
Enchanted Sky Media.
From the Enchanted Sky Studios in Prescott, Arizona, this is Code 3, the Firefighters podcast, hosted by award-winning journalist Scott Orr. Code 3 features interviews with leading members of the fire service, discussing firefighting strategies, tactics, and other topics you need to know more about. Now, here's Scott.
That's right, and I will not let Parkinson's stop me. Thank you for joining me again here on Code 3. You are listening to the show for and about firefighters. Let's get started. I got an email a few days ago, and it was full of comments about the show, like a lot of other emails that show up in my inbox, but this one was different. It came from a firefighter in Germany, and he wrote mostly to discuss the Euro helmet debate. Turns out their regulations require these new helmets for interior attacks, and a lot of firefighters there don't like them either. I was interested to read how things are done there, how they're different, and how much is the same as in the US. So I decided to ask the guy who wrote me to come on Code 3 and talk about it. Ulrich Koellner is a 24-year veteran firefighter. He, like 97% of firefighters in Germany, is a volunteer. His position is something like a battalion chief. He's a deputy platoon leader, and he's the head of the hazmat squad. And Ulrich Koellner joins me now. Welcome to Code 3.
Hello, Scott. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. You originally wrote to me about the Euro helmet debate. I think a lot of U.S. firefighters assumed that you were using the new helmets already. Tell me what the feelings are among German firefighters about the newer style of helmets.
The so-called Euro helmet is a pretty new invention here too. Some departments, actually most carrier departments, have used it longer times, but in the volunteer department use these on a department-to-department base. Some have changed early, others changed lately, in the last year, actually, when new safety regulations were issued, and the older traditional German helmet, same as in the US, not the same helmet, but the same tradition, was not allowed anymore, especially for interior attacks.
And so the original traditional helmet, I understand, was similar to a soldier's helmet.
The outer body, yes. The shape of the helmet derives from a long time. It was introduced in the First World War. It's a pretty infamous design and well known. And during the Second World War, it was also a standard helmet, also in the fire department. And after the war, it was used again many years. Only changed the color from black to yellow, luminescent. And after that, the material changed from steel to aluminum, which made it lighter and better to wear. But the overall shape stayed for many decades until, I don't know the exact year, maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago, I don't know it exactly. Some new helmets came on the market and were introduced to some departments. As I said before, carrier departments went first because of the better funding, and some followed, but not everybody. And when the new safety regulations were introduced, everybody had to follow, and now every department has to make a new strategy for their personal protection gear, especially the helmets.
Sounds to me as though the desire to hang on to the old helmets is essentially the same here and in Germany, which is to say they're traditional and they're iconic, but there's some recognition that they might not be as safe, yet people still want to wear them. Was that your situation over there?
Kind of. Because of the design has its flaws as a fire helmet. Many soldier helmets were introduced as fire helmets. I mean, French soldier's helmet was the original fire helmet of the Paris Firefighters, and this tradition went on. But they were designed as soldier's helmet and not especially for firefighting. But the design had its advantages, but the progress in the later years, the last 20 years, has had such an advance in personal protection gear that this wasn't state of the art anymore and had to change. The biggest flaws, they are out of aluminum, and so they can lead electricity, and that makes them a bit unsafe in some environments, especially inside a working house fire where electricity lines hanging down, etc. And the other flaw is molten metal would melt down through these helmets very fast, and if something drops onto your head, maybe you heard of the fire in Paris from Notre Dame, where liquid lead dropped down onto the firefighters. This would be good with a metal helmet. So in addition to this, there are some holes for ventilation on the sides, depending on the original design, and this was not more suitable for interior attacks. You can't send firefighters inside with such a helmet anymore. And so other ways were needed, and the plastic helmets had a better shape, they had better, and would last longer in such environments, and would have a better protection for the head.
It sounds as if you've come to accept the advantages of the new helmets over the old ones. Is that true?
Yes, pretty much. We had to wear several models of new helmets. Every time we had to look at the costs, okay, but we had to choose in some frame, and we could wear them for testing, and they fit on the head very much better. You can't argue about that. They are much heavier, and this is a downside many members of the fire service don't like, especially older members who are used to the old helmet for a long time. The light aluminum helmet, they don't like the heavy new helmet, and if the the situation lasts very long, you know that you have something on your head. The aluminum helmet wasn't all there at all. At least you didn't feel like it. And firefighters, as soldiers, as many other kinds of people, traditionalists, they like what works, and usually they never change a running system, and they got used to this helmet. And the younger guys know these new advantages, likes it, they are cool, but the helmet you got issued when you joined the fire department was your helmet. You kept it your whole career. The inner helmet was changed, of course, but the outer hull, the aluminum frame, was always there. It got scratched, it got dirty, but you wear this with pride and go inside again with this very helmet. With some people, I do so as well, we miss it a bit, but we know there are advantages on the new helmets, and yeah, you have to go with the time and advance.
Well, that sounds like that's about the same as it is here in the U.S. And let me change subjects now to something else that's similar. Here in the U.S., about 70% of firefighters are volunteers, which seems like a large number. But in Germany, the number is more like 97%. Is that accurate?
Approximately, yes. About something over 30,000 firefighters are carrier firefighters. That's because only cities with more than 100,000 inhabitants, that's much for Germany, have to have a carrier fire department. Also, in addition to these carrier fire departments, volunteer fire departments are in these cities too. So over 990,000, I guess this was the last number I looked up, firefighters are volunteers in Germany. In addition to that, you have You have some paid firefighters at chemical plants or other factories who have their own fire department, of course.
Right, those are privately owned or owned by a company. So that number is remarkable, and it's even more than remarkable because here in the U.S. we're having a hard time recruiting people to be volunteers. How easy or hard is it for you guys to recruit volunteers?
I guess we were spoiled over the years. We have about 80 million inhabitants and 1 million are firefighters, actually. That's a great number on paper. These carried over the years, and the fire department was on one side some official organization who helps the people. But on the other hand, in most communities, it has a social impact too. People met there, people gathered there, and this was part of the everyday life. But as I said before, in the last decades, the fire service had to get more professional in every kind of way. And the tactics, the standardization procedures, the technical issues, everything was became more complicated, and communities and people changed a bit. Being an unpaid servant of the community isn't as popular anymore as it was in the earlier days. So we still have a hard time. And in our district, without any numbers, in our district we lose the amount of people of one fire department every year.
Wow!
So it's a hard time to get new firefighters interested in the service. And the good side, where we can recruit most people, is because we have youth organizations. Almost every volunteer fire department has a youth organization where you can join at the age of 10. And that sounds a bit strange, of course.
It sounds like a good way to get them interested young and help bring them up within the culture.
Yes, indeed, it is. Well, when you joined at the age of 10, I did myself, you have this organization and it's mirror of the active duty firefighter organization, but in as a kind. You learn some procedures, you learn the tech talk, you learn how to put a line, how to work with a nozzle, something like that. We prepare you for the basic training, in a playful manner. And there are lots of other activities, like the Boy Scouts or something like that. It's a mixture of this, and it is intended to get the people interested and keep them on there. And nowadays, in addition to that, because it doesn't fill our ranks anymore, it's a matter we need it, we have a children's fire department as well. So you can join at the age of 6.
Wow.
This is only dedicated to play things. It's like kindergarten type.
It's just to give them the idea that a fire department is fun or important or both.
Yes, indeed. It's a kindergarten playground with activities branded as fire departments. It's our corporate brand we issue to the people.
Well, those are probably some ideas that we could work on adopting here because we've got some of the same problems recruiting people nowadays also. Why don't you give me an idea of the size of your department and the size of the service area that you have?
Our department consists actually of 10 departments. We have the department of the city of Seesen, and this is divided into 10 mostly independent departments. In the inner city, there's the biggest department, the department I serve in. We have about 100 active firefighters. In addition to that, our retired firefighters are still on our roll, and we have an honor division where they meet once a month and have a chat and have a good time, and still are part of our department. They wear their uniform and are honored for their service. And as I told you, the both youth organizations, they're called Jugendfeuerwehr, and the children's fire department is Kinderfeuerwehr, where these kids can learn about fire department stuff. But active duty firefighters 100, and the smaller villages around the city have everybody every village has their own fire department, and the numbers varied from 20 to 90 firefighters.
Now, if you get a call for a structure fire, and I'm not sure what the phrases you would use, but ours would be a first alarm. What would the number of people first dispatched to the scene be?
If it's a structure fire, it has a higher alarm category. So there would be in the inner city dispatched, well, I use military terms because these are better to understand for me, 1 or 2 platoons. It consists, as I understand it, in the US, the size of a single apparatus is a company. And our platoons consist of 2 or more companies. Yes, in the Department of Season, we have 2 platoons, one consisting of 2 companies and the other of 3. We have 10 vehicles. 3 are fire trucks, engines as we call it. 2 are pumpers, and 1 has 2 deployable pumps. To a working structure fire, we would field everything we have, and at every given time, we can field about 35 personnel.
75?
No, and 35.
I'm sorry, 35. So you're saying approximately 35. How many individuals are riding on one engine or one apparatus?
On our initial squad in military terms, the company size, would be 9 firefighters.
All right, now I'm having a little trouble converting this to U.S. terms, so let me explain what we have and we'll see how it converts. Here, a typical pumper or engine might have 4 men on board. 1 would be the captain that would be in charge of those 4 men, 3 men below him. That would be a company officer because it would be an engine company, so it'd be about 4 people. How many is your smallest unit there?
Well, our smallest unit, independent unit, consists of 7 people. 1 officer and 1 engineer, and the rest is personnel, 6 personnel.
And, forgive me for sounding repetitive, but you're able to get all those spots filled when there's an alarm?
Not every time. As I said, every given time we could field about 35 people. We have the first 2 trucks, as I call it, one has 9 people on board, the other has 8. We can fill that, of course. The ladder has 3 people on board. We can fill that too. The command vehicle has 2 or 3. The incident commander plus some radio controller. The others will see what's left.
Well, that's still very impressive.
Out of our 10 vehicles, we have different approaches for different alarms. If there's a vehicle accident, we field other units as when it's a structure fire. Usually it's very big, we field everything we have. But if it's minor fire in a flat or something like that, we would field a platoon consisting of the ladder, 2 trucks, the command vehicle, and usually that's it.
And that sounds familiar to me also. Do your firefighters have any emergency medical training, and if so, how much?
Not much, indeed. The medical training is on the first aid level, CPR, stuff like that. But the advanced medical training and emergency medical service is done by paid EMS, EMTs, paramedics. As we call it, there's a transition and this stuff at the moment. But this is owned by the district at the moment, and the ambulances were dispatched to our incidents, to our situations, to our calls, but manned with paid personnel, usually. But there are private organizations that are unpaid, like the Deutsche Rote Kreuz, Red Cross, who works as we do, unpaid and voluntarily.
And what is your fire response time like? On average, how do you do?
It depends. It depends on the time, and it depends how many people are available and are at work. Usually, we field the first engine in about 5 minutes. We have to field it in 9 minutes.
That's really very good, and it's very comparable to a lot of our departments here. So I've got to ask you, what is the biggest problem that German firefighters deal with that gives them the most complaints about their job over there?
Well, I can answer this very strongly. Time. I guess our biggest hazards are not the fire, not water, not anything else what may occur. The biggest hazard in our duty or service is time, the lack of time for training. As I said before, the degree of professional working requirements have increased this much that we don't get our personnel as trained as we wish. You have to train for every given situation. Our department, there are no carrier firefighters here. We are the only ones, and we have to train for every situation. From hazardous material incidents to structural fires, car crashes, whatever occurs, we have to deal with the situation. This has very high requirements for our personnel, and because of our organization structure and the availability of the personnel, many firefighters have to train for different positions. They are put in the attack team, going inside on the one day, and on the other day they work lying fire hoses over a long distance. We have a hose layer truck, and if we are on a village, we have to maybe get a kilometer of hose line deployed, and people have to do that too. If they have to get on the ladder and have to work in a high environment, they have to know their fall protection gear, as well as chemical suits. The whole issues that come with a traffic accident and the specialized equipment for that. One firefighter from my hazmat company told me he wants to leave hazmat because he can't go to all the trainings anymore. It's too often on a weekend, and he has to and he wants to take some time for his family. And I had to talk to him and say, no, please stay. Look how many you can get to, and we work it out. To a certain degree, this is possible, but somewhere there's a tipping point where we can't go on and do much more training anymore. This is certainly in the near future.
Well, that sounds very much like some problems that we have in the U.S. with volunteers finding time to train, so we're very familiar with that. And we'll call it an end right here. It was great to talk to you, Ulrich Koellner. Thanks for being with me on Code 3 today.
Thank you. It was an honor to talk to you. I'm a big fan of your show, and keep up the good work.
And we put some more information about firefighting in Germany on our website at code3podcast.com/Germany. Check it out. All right, that's it. That's all for this edition of Code 3. This time we talked about the differences and similarities of firefighting in Europe and the U.S. I'd like to hear your stories about this, especially if you're listening from outside the U.S. Just email me, scott@code3podcast.com, or you can leave a voicemail at 562-337-9902. I will read and play back your comments on a future show. Hey, thank you for listening. I'll be back next time with more, and I hope you'll be here. I'm Scott Orr, and until then, stay safe.
Code 3 is a production of Enchanted Sky Media. To contact us, get more information on today's topic, or subscribe to the podcast, go to code3podcast.com.